Kesha, welcome and welcome back. We are on, the Eighth Commandment of Prosperity, 10 Commandments. So let's go ahead and center. Closing our eyes and taking a deep breath in. Just feel ourselves in our seats. Feeling present in this time and space. Bring our attention back to our body. Bring our attention back to this moment. Gently unwinding it from the cares and concerns of the day. Another deep breath in and out. Another deep breath in. Just notice how that attention back to oneself enlivens you and quickens you. Touches that magnetic reserve of power that's within. You feel the gentle yearning for our heart to open and our mind to expand. And now just see a column of light coming down over you. Breathe in the peace of this light. Notice how it too quickens and enlivens the body, the mind, and the spirit. Gently encouraging our hearts to open, our minds to expand. As we rest in this peace, in this space that's familiar to us. When you're ready, gently open your eyes. Yay. Prosperity's eighth commandment. Thou shalt not seek something for nothing. In other words, thou shalt not steal. The eighth commandment, like all the others, covers a broad field of human activities. Its meaning can by no means be confined to the mere act of committing petty or grand larceny. To steal, according to Webster, means to take without right or leave, and with intent to keep wrongfully. Many self-righteous people believe that if they do not gain possession of another's property unlawfully, they are not disobeying the eighth commandment. They have great condemnation for the misguided burglar, pickpocket, or embezzler, and as a rule are most insistent that these criminals be severely punished. This sharp intolerance of the weakness of others is characteristic of those who keep the letter of the law but violate its spirit. What is the spirit of the law in Thou Shalt Not Steal? Emerson's essay on compensation affords several excellent answers to this question. In the last analysis, stealing is the endeavor to get something for nothing. Under the law of compensation, this is impossible. Life, functioning under this law of mind, demands that we pay for what we get, and is correspondingly true that we get what we pay for. Emerson says, in labor as in life, there can be no cheating. The thief steals from himself, the swindler swindles himself. Speaking of the man who tries to get something for nothing, he also says, has he gained by borrowing, through indolence or cunning, his neighbor's wares or horses or money? There arises on the deed the instant acknowledgement of the benefit on the one part of the debt There arises on the deed the instant acknowledgement of the benefit on the one part and of debt on the other, that is, of superiority and inferiority. A wise man will extend this lesson to all parts of life, and know that it is the part of prudence to face every claimant and pay every just demand on your time, your talents, or your heart. Always pay, for first or last you must pay your entire debt. The benefit we receive must be rendered again, line for line, deed for deed, cent for cent, to somebody. Under the law of compensation, there is no such thing as getting something for nothing. We must give full measure for all that we receive at some time. In the words of the trade slogan popular some years ago, eventually, why not now? Every day is a day of judgment in which the balance between giving and receiving is struck. Every instant of time, the state of soul, body, and circumstances show just where we stand, just how well or how poorly we have observed the spirit of this commandment. Like all truth, it is to be observed in the handling of our material supply. Prosperity's eighth commandment is this: thou shalt not seek something for nothing. One of the most difficult things in life to understand is the apparently unjust distribution of riches. Self-respecting, upright people with keen minds who are endeavoring to live constructive, creative lives are oftentimes poor as the proverbial church mouse. Such people frequently become embittered, wondering why persons who are unsound ethically, have undeveloped minds, and lead useless and sometimes vicious lives are literally rolling in manifest wealth. The answer is that wealth is the outpicturing of the state of mind. The earnestly striving person whose efforts are not richly compensated may have a poverty consciousness. This is by far the most common reason for inadequate returns for conscientious endeavor. The mind that is filled with fear of lack or acceptance of lack or rebellion against circumstances is for the time being definitely failing to collect the just compensation due in this outer realm of cause and effect. Since nothing is ever lost, he will at some point of his existence reap the benefit of every effort that he makes when he has freed his mind from the poverty complex. On the other hand, an apparently useless person who seems to be given nothing to life may have a money consciousness. He may be utterly convinced that the world is his oyster and thoughtlessly proceed to grab and use selfishly everything in sight. With no thought of lack in his mind, he will continue wealthy, although his wrong use of wealth must eventually bring him to misery and disappointment. That's an assumption. She makes a few of these, I'm now seeing. Such situations call for compassion rather than envy or rebellion, and that is true for everyone. For we are only seeing in part, and that is so true. And we forget too that there are probably karmic sums to be worked out, and that in some lifetimes we are the stewards of great wealth, or we're learning to be stewards of great wealth, so we have to have the wealth to be a steward of it, or by some karmic twist or decision made, we are outpicturing a life this time of poverty in repentance for something, a previous life where we didn't have, or we did have and didn't share, or what have you. So we forget that we might be working out a different sum, and sometimes the lifetime is mastering the switch from poverty consciousness to that of wealth consciousness. So there's multiple reasons why I appreciate hers, but we need to recognize that there might be more. We are seeing the beginning of a violation of the law of giving and receiving that can only result in disaster at some future time for the one who faces life so unintelligently. And I think that can be said of the one who is poverty conscious as well, because the disaster is that you're living a life not recognizing that you're a child of God and thus heir to the kingdom, and you haven't laid claim to your spiritual birthright, and then made it manifest in this particular existence. I think that's probably enough for now, and we will leave the Eighth Commandment, the rest of it, for our chat on Wednesday. So you all have a great next couple of days, and I will love you in the meantime. See ya.